How's it going out there in the interwebs world? We got Jeff today. I'm going to do a piece of, I think it's peppercorn. Oh, I'm trying to picture the tree that they chopped down in my head to remember what the wood is. No, it's not. Definitely not peppercorn. Not with that bark. That's for sure.
It's nothing I recognize.
It's either bottle brush or peppercorn. That's pretty much the only trees that are around here.
Okay.
I should just go with peppercorn. Peppercorn it is.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
Oh, I'm glad you do. Hey, they're noisy today.
They are. Yeah.
And the camera is an extra 3 feet closer to them than it normally is. So it might be a little bit louder. It was just colours that I had.
Mm-hmm. No, I like it though.
I tried to blend the green and gold, but good enough. Yeah, this part here. Oh, sorry, too far in the light. But it's got the chuck marks in it. Anyway, that's what I was trying to point out, the chuck marks. If you're not a turner, you don't know what they are, so I'll leave them on.
Let me grab my 2 bowls and I'll show you what I just finished.
All right, no worries.
Okay. Okay, so this is my last piece of sugar maple that I did.
Oh yeah, very nice.
Yep. And this is a piece of sycamore that I didn't know I had. I found it in the back corner of my shop.
Oh, it's good when you find stuff like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great find. It's like treasure. So they've got to be buffed yet. They've got a standard beeswax finish on them. And then I'm going to buff them with white diamond and carnauba wax. And that way, if I do have a show, when people handle them, finger marks won't show up.
Okay. Is it the carnauba wax that does that? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very hard shell wax. And when you buff it in, it gets real warm. And it just blends into the pores and just gets rock hard. Uh-oh.
No, that's all right. There's no spindle lock on this lathe, so I have to resort back to my my old version of a spanner.
Yeah.
There. And then the key, so that's just the key that comes out when I get it. Conveniently, the chuck for this one is exactly the same brand that I use. And it's the same key, so.
Oh, good. Is that Axminster?
Nah, Nova.
Nova, okay.
Yeah. And the next truck I'll buy, I think it's going to be that one, but with bigger jaws, so I can grip.
We've got a brand here in the U.S. called Hurricane, and I've got 3 of those.
Okay.
I got 2. They're HTC 100s. They're standard size. They're about 4 inch. And then I got an HTC 125, which is 5.5 inches. And it's almost 6 pounds. It is a heavy dog. And when he gets spinning, it's like a flywheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to be standing in front of that when you turn. would you?
Yeah.
Oh, look out! You're in trouble now.
Uh-oh.
How you going, Dr. Bob?
Good.
We better stop talking about him now.
Yeah, we gotta.
It wouldn't hurt me.
How you doing, Bob?
Oh, pretty
Oh, he froze.
Yeah, you're cutting out there,
good.
Dr. Bob.
Worker time that has to be fixed.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one around here that knows how to fix anything.
The only one that wants it fixed, more like it, no? Tough crowd today.
So what you've been up
No, you're cutting out a lot there, Dr. Bob. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on.
You're frozen.
to?
He's on the tablet again.
Oh, most
Oh, there
probably.
he's moving now. That's good. Was you asking me what I was up to?
Yeah, besides your bowl you did, or that was nice.
Yeah, and since then, I did a sycamore. I found this in the back of my shop, and came out real nice. So, so the sugar maple you saw and the sycamore, I'll be buffing those up tomorrow and getting them on Etsy.
Sorry, I'm just looking for my hammer. Since I've rearranged my shop to fit this lathe in it, I can't find anything anymore.
Spanners work as hammers.
Hey?
Spanners work as hammers.
Oh, no, I want to bash this down a bit. I can't find my wooden mallet that I made. It's around. No, it's around here somewhere. I have seen it. There you go.
Well, it should fit in there without having to smash it in.
No, I just wanted to make a couple of those indentations in it.
Oh, in the wood. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Hi, Robbo.
Good morning, all.
There you go.
How are you?
All right, won't be on long. I'm in the middle of a job, so
Okay.
just having a smoke, and then I'll be out again.
Okie doke.
How are you, Jeff?
I'm
What
doing
you
good.
up to?
No complaints.
Wouldn't do you any bloody good in here if you did.
Or anywhere for that matter.
Well, that's true. I've probably got more than you. No, sorry, I couldn't get into the Turner's talk the other day. I was busy driving, believe it or not, when that was on.
Oh, okay. Well, we've got it up on YouTube.
Oh, good. I'll have to have a look.
Yeah, we started out. Somebody wanted to talk about Etsy stores and PayPal, and wanted to see how to set them up. And I said, well, number one, I said that's a whole evening of just doing a video on that alone.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And I said the big problem too is like setting up a PayPal account. It's very hard to do that without giving away somebody's banking information.
Yeah,
So, but I ran through some basics on Etsy. You know, once you got your Etsy store set up, I said you follow questions to set it up, and then the listings are the big thing. And so I ran through how to build a listing, and because it's kind of tedious, and explained why I don't use any of their shipping functions. That I just do it all myself, and I use my own PayPal rather than theirs.
oh, yeah.
Yep.
Gee, Jay, that's a big block of wood for you.
He thinks it's peppercorn.
You got it on the slow speed, have you? Not answering me. He's ignoring me.
He's deep in concentration.
I had to. It's always in slow. I turn it off in slow. That's how you're meant to do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's I had to turn the piece of wood around because it was banging into the motor.
Oh,
That's normal on those, unfortunately, when you go to turn something between centres.
What a pain in the ass.
What you can do, Jay, is put the chuck on
Yeah.
and then put the centre into the chuck.
Well,
Well, that's the only workaround on that, unfortunately. It's something it's something I normally don't advocate, but
yes,
sometimes
that's
you've
why I
got to.
laughed. That's why I laughed.
I know. But sometimes
I've
you've got
done
to.
it.
What are you working on?
I'm removing silicon from the roof of my truck. And that is hard work.
Yep. Got any blades?
I use a plastic scraper on them, like a piece of Perspex.
Oh, yeah.
But it's fairly thick where the airfoil wasn't mounted onto the top of the truck.
Yep.
Needs to all be cleaned off. So,
Did you have an incident on your last trip?
I've just never been happy with the mounting on it. That's all. Tends to vibrate and rattle a little bit.
Yep.
Sounds like the bird is saying no.
Magpies are like women; they gossip. You can't
There
shut
it
them up.
Well, I picked up a cheap Chinese camcorder that you can use for streaming. So
Yeah.
I figured out how to make that work with OSB. So that I'm going to try that out as my overhead camera. And if that works out well, then I'm going to get a second one and use it as my tail camera. And that way I can zoom in and everything.
See what it's like with a light near it, Jeff. I've noticed this camera's all right. I paid a little bit of money for this one, and then the cheap one I've got, it just washes everything out as soon as it gets a little bit of light on it, even
Yeah.
a dull light.
Well, one of the reasons I jumped at this is it's got color washing. So I should be able to adjust the balance and the white balance on it and so on. Because where it's going to be mounted on the ceiling, it's going to be hanging right below my light.
Yep.
Just to interrupt for a minute, did you put that center all the way into the chuck? Did you, Jay?
It's sticking out about half a
won't
centimetre.
won't it go all the way in? Because I think you'll find that'll run. I think you'll find it'll run off center if it's out there like that. Oh no, okay.
No, it wasn't.
Put it right in against the back of the jaws if you can.
Yeah, but then the wood-
Looks like it was too deep.
Yeah. I'll have to go to the.
That's unusual. Okay.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
the
It's got
wood
some
won't
deep
get
jaws
through it.
there.
Yeah. No, there's standard jaws for this shot, though.
Yeah.
you reckon they would have changed the angle on this part here, Robbo?
Sorry?
Where the jaw comes out here, not this part of the jaw, but this part of the jaw,
Yeah.
where it comes out. Do you reckon that if they would have a bigger chuck would have the angle slightly different on that? It looks like a greater angle than what mine's on. That's all.
No, Technical are pretty much the same angle all the way.
Over.
Although if you read the fine print, though, items subject to change whenever they feel like it. Sometimes.
Yeah. That's the way it is with everything.
Well, they got to cover their asses, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's never a tailstock that can tighten tight enough, is there? That's terrible. I'm going to put these on mute for a second. I'm going to beat the piece of wood on.
Jay, if it's out that far, just loosen the tailstock center a little bit and just gently tap it over.
Well, that just made it worse. I might just throw this piece. It's starting to piss me off. That just made it ever so worse, loosening the tailstock.
No, you don't loosen it right off. You leave the point in.
Yeah, I did that. Oh, fuck it. It's like it's on.
All right, I've had my smoke, so back to work again, scraping off more silicon. All right,
Well,
see you later, folks.
It was good seeing you, buddy.
Yeah, same, Jeff. Bye.
Hey, take care.
See you, Bob.
Yep.
He's deep.
See you later on, Jay.
There's a man who knows how to have fun. Scraping silica off your roof.
Yeah.
How you going, Chris?
All right. Hear me out. I'm done day trading. Hear this one out. You know Ethereum, right? So, Ethereum's supposed to go up to 10K by the end of the year. It's all analysts are calling. That goes to 10K. There's a little sub guy called Ethereum Classic. And I bought in just a ton of it. And it goes up with Ethereum. It's reached $100 today from $1. But people are all across the board calling $1,000. This coin goes to $1,000. I will have Ethereum. Wherever
So
it
you
goes,
be busy today?
goes to 500, it's fine. I'll pull out.
Yeah, today was kind of busy. Nothing special though. A lot of different things. I didn't get into the shop today, but I'll be in there tomorrow. I got the two bowls that I turned. I want to get those buffed, so they have a nice hard shell finish on them, and then start working on the next project.
Yeah, I spent today upgrading the sound system. I had someone that I had made a bunch of candlesticks for, like I was showing here a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted them for the father's name, and they liked the idea that it was battery powered, except that they had a little change they wanted me to make, and that was being able to, instead of supply it on a little battery, do it on a
I was just been telling you about that.
motorcycle battery, because they're putting they pair them in a muzzle with a glass window.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they've got a picture, and that don't have any ashes because he died in California and COVID, and they haven't got the ashes back here yet. So with the candles, and sitting on a little candle, sitting on a nice little motorcycle battery. covered with a drape.
Yeah.
And then the picture is being held up against the battery too. It looks nice, and it'll
Mhm.
last. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
If my calculations are anywhere near accurate, it should probably burn out in 2 years, maybe 3.
Oh, okay.
There's no current draw at all, but they're gonna, to speak of, it's just one of those little 1.5 volt T lights.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It has been a day for me and a half.
Oh, really? Is that good or bad?
Well, a little of both. I've run kind of out of some of my meds, and I've got they're supposed to have been pre-delivered, but they can't find it. They were done. The VA is in order to, they've had equipment at some time now to be able to have one of their facilities. I don't know where it's at, but actually computer fill all the medicine, package it, and ship it. They
Yeah.
just automatically take what gets renewed and ships it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, except that it has been down because they had new equipment that was new 5 years ago that got put on hold to save money on the complete overhaul and installation of the new equipment. So
Oh.
what they're putting in now is 5 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. Obsolete.
Yeah, and they've got software updates and all sorts of stuff, but unfortunately, they got to pay for them because even though they paid for 3 years worth, it hadn't been installed yet because that was one of the priorities that was taken off the table.
Yeah.
So money could go elsewhere in the government budget.
Yeah. And we know how smooth software updates can go.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that the administrator at our hospital didn't like the idea, and when Trump's first administrator up and quit, several others around the country did too,
Mm.
because so many things that had been on the "we need urgently" list had been bought and is sitting in the hospital's warehouse, but there was no money for the installation and guaranteed maintenance contract, of which,
Yeah.
when they got around to it, had found that had expired and hadn't even been installed yet. Minor problems.
Yeah. I actually worked on a phone system for GM, and that's how I met Judy before she became my wife. And there was so many delays on that project that the phone system ran out of warranty before we even cut it over.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
what the system?
I was a Nortel Meridian.
Oh, Nortel, a good old made in
Yeah.
made in London, Canada.
Yeah, yeah, good systems.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Ross Pro came in when there was a merger with EDS, promising to do all this stuff. Then he called up my department, which was the engineers that installed them all, and he says, "I got all these phone systems here, and I got nobody to install them. So I'm writing you all a blank check. You tell me what you want." So we all went over. The whole department went over to Ross, and it almost triggered a lawsuit from Nortel. And I got over there because he had 5 SLN 100 systems, which are the central office systems.
Yeah.
And he had absolutely nobody. I mean, the regular Meridian guys couldn't install those. And I had background in that. So I was one of 35 project managers. And so my first project with them was the GM headquarters down in West Grand Boulevard.
Wow.
Yep. 15,000 phones, 25,000 lines. Yep. And we did it in 18 months. And on our cutover day, we had less than 1% failure rate.
That's not bad.
No, it was a miracle. But all of us project managers, except for one of it, came out of it with a divorce.
Oh, I can believe that. I
Yeah,
can believe
we were
that.
working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yep.
Yep. I installed my background for quite a while was doing ISDN,
Yep.
and I was on one of the subcommittees for it, standards. And then I got involved with here with Mawbell because they had no idea how to handle ISDN, and something that really wasn't in any of the of Michigan Bell. This is back when it was Michigan Bell.
Yep.
Uh, their records had never been fully updated, and the old logs that they kept track of that tracked a particular circuit number,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't sort them by that. They were the big books like that, little bitty print, keep track of everything. Supposedly everywhere it's ever had a half tap. Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
You'd never believe the half tap logs.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I remember when in 84, no, 85, I started in November in 84. In 85, they sent us to a seminar on ISDN because that was the thing that was coming out. That was the hot new thing. And Ross wanted it, and Ameritech wanted to put it in there real bad. And GM wanted nothing to do with it. They says, there's no way you're going to get anybody who's going to accept their information being passed on to the next person.
oh,
And so we were going to be the test bed. The GM headquarters was going to be the test bed for it, and it never happened. But there was just so much hatred between the two companies, mostly GM towards EDS, because a lot of GMers who've been there for their whole careers got screwed big time. The merger was done very poorly.
yeah.
And they're still in court arguing that stuff. Some of the guys are dead now, but they're still in court arguing it. And that was what? That was 84. It's going on 35 to 40 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I have installed a 5E because I was an AT&T person.
Yeah.
That's where
That was a good switch.
they wanted me, and I kept pushing ISDN because I love the standards, the structure of ISDN. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then today, when you put SIP protocol on the ERIs, you really have a powerful switch there that can be used for almost anything under the sun.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that was a good switch. I like the 5ES.
Yeah, I installed the. I can't think of the number. It was a Nortel. Yeah, out of Canada. the first one ever put in as privately owned in Scottsdale Ranch,
Hmm.
Arizona, in La Privada, which was a private housing for I forget the net, they're in Arizona outside of Phoenix. There was a big computer company,
Uh-huh.
that did R&D, and it went up in flames. It was a chip manufacturer, and I can't think what one. But before it went up in flames, uh, they were going to be doing some other research work, and the facility that the Beztech or Beznos brothers, the people that actually paid to have the switch put in, we put them in 3 of their properties around the country. But that was my first one, and it was a ball. And I kept pushing. I want ISDN, and I don't want AT&T's bastardized version of it, because everyone kept arguing over
Yeah.
PRIs
Yeah.
and the standards, and some of the signaling. But supposedly they kept claiming that they ran native. But my source for switch and everything came out of, for tech, when it came. Uh, I had been through their tech school up out in London with 3 other people that I knew that were good, 2 of them hams. So at least I knew a lot of electronics. So we went up to tech school. We went down there. We had to have a field engineer supervise us, from bolting the cabinets to the floor to plugging and filling the racks. We did it all.
Yeah. And you had to have certain cards and certain slots
Yep,
on certain shelves.
always.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they were channel banks.
Yep.
And once you understood that,
Yeah.
then
Well,
that's what really surprised me, because if you understood it originally and then you looked at the Nortel switches, they had a lot of extra backplane set aside.
Yeah.
And when you kept asking them why, they would say they don't know. But when you talk to a senior engineer on a phone about a problem that your local rep couldn't do, they'd just say, "We can't tell you yet."
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you what, when they came out with the Meridian, which was the universal backplane, I loved that machine.
Yes.
That was the last machine I worked with before I moved on to another company. And that was slick. That was sweet. About the easiest system I ever worked on, until I worked on a Roam 9751.
Meridian, I put one of them in a college in Dayton. That was kind of fun. They wanted something big enough to handle all the dorms, plus do all the audio visual, everything that we are doing at home now, but in those days was still in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was kind of fun. That took us 8 weeks to do. We had another company install a switch, and I took care of bringing up, booting the software, and doing the testing, certification.
Yeah. Well, he's making some headway on that. It looks like it's a very hard wood.
What kind of wood is it?
He thinks it's peppercorn.
Yeah,
yeah.
I can only assume it's peppercorn because it doesn't look like the bottle brush.
Yeah.
Chris?
Is it real hard?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it was fighting you.
Yeah, it's because of the split, this thing here.
Yeah.
Every time I hit that, it would throw the tool back that way.
Right.
And
Spin
I've
it
got
faster. When you have interruptions, go faster.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, if you
You'll
can,
have
if
less
it's out of balance,
vibration.
if you're out of balance, it may be a problem.
yeah, no, it's not the balance side. It's just that because I was trying this. I was trying this big fella out, and it was jumping around, and it was doing the same thing to this one.
Yeah. Now, another thing I do when I've got something that's got a big empty space like that,
Yeah.
I work from the outside in. I very carefully bring the bevel in and ride the bevel.
No,
And
I'll get in trouble by Robbo if I do that. I'm telling you right.
oh, really?
He's not watching.
Robbo's not here. Yeah.
He watches them. He watches them all. Chris, I
He's like your
started off.
dad.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I started off this morning doing. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. But
Yeah, we can see it.
it's got stars, gold stars. The only row that's dry is the top one, so that's really the only one you're going to see because all the others, the glue's still drying on it. But I just tried to get them as close to each other as possible. It's just a tea light candle holder, really. It's nothing flash. It's just something I did yesterday when I was bored and didn't think it needed to be in alive. So you get a gold star, Chris, all right? For being good, all right? I got a whole packet of them, so you better behave. I'll turn the speed up a bit, very hesitantly turn the speed up because I don't really have anywhere to run if the piece comes off.
Well, it's worm screwed in, isn't it?
No, he's got it on a live center, or not a live center, a dead center,
Yeah.
Okay.
and that's mounted in the chuck. Yep.
Yeah. We'll just take it light. I mean,
Yep. That's all you can do. Light
Yeah.
cuts.
Yep. The only reason I've got it in chuck too, Dr. Bob, is because the motor's right here, and it was hitting the motor when I didn't have a chuck in.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh yeah, that motor where it is a pain, but
isn't it?
they're all identical.
I can't complain about it though.
You just
No.
get used to it.
That's all right. Well, the other one that I'm getting, the motor's 3 times as round, and it's it's maybe back a little bit further than that one, but
Yeah, but what, twice as powerful or 3 times?
it's 1 horsepower. The other one.
Just stay this side the tool rest and take light cuts.
Yeah.
The other thing I had fun playing with there was a Cray XMP22 full tower or twin tower because they come in halves.
Mm-hmm.
2 halves made up a tower. But if you ever saw the Cray, they're perfectly round.
Oh.
Nitrogen cooled.
Oh wow.
We had one at the U of M, but I already knew about the Cray because one of the things I got involved with while I was down there in Scottsdale, only because I won't say nosy, but I tried to keep up with technology. And AT&T, Ma Bell, which is married to AT&T, just had planned an ISDN extravaganza in Arizona, in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Had booked all the hotels and everything out, had their convention center and 4 buildings around it set up as the demonstration for the office of the future, the doctor's office of the future, this classroom of the future. Everything they could think of was for the future, and they used the D channel whenever they could, because that was fast data then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Used the D channel, of which it wasn't SIP in any way, shape, or form, but the way the packet structure of it as they went through kind of said where you go, but SIP was built. It's argumentative where it started at, but Denmark had it for 2 years before China invented it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the one thing that I got to know real well is the SIP language. Because it's the communications protocol that we had that was on the Norcom
Okay.
switch, and that I knew. And we had they kept trying to get Marbell, trying to get AT&T, kept trying to get a PRI 4 channels in for demonstration purposes, and unfortunately, the switch they had brought in was too high of standard in software than the local central office was. So when they swung them over, they were incompatible and they couldn't figure out what was wrong.
Hmm. Jeez.
So I had a couple of PRIs that were clean that weren't being used yet. So we were able to get the local RBOC to put in the cables for us to handle them. And my little Northern Telecom switch was feeding their big AT&T switch in the convention center with all the lights flashing, but it was my switch running it
Yeah.
26 miles away. All the demos and everything
Mm-hmm.
had people on headsets back and forth saying, "Is it still running all right? Can we do this? Can we?" And the computers that they were accessing weren't on that 25-mile leg because they cheated like mad and had them coming in using 10-net protocol.
Yeah.
Everybody was busy in the back of the phone with running the extra network cable up and in the phone and back out the jack on the back of the phone.
Yeah.
It was jury rigged, but their hardware didn't work.
Whatever it takes to get it going.
Yeah, their hardware
Yeah.
didn't work. They had to use a Norcom for 6 weeks. That's how many weeks of groups of people they kept bringing in and telling the great lie to that this is a this is AT&T's latest switch. It's not, but it was a Northern Telephone.
Yeah.
And we'd just sit back and laugh.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all you can do.
It was a well-kept secret, and
Yeah.
it cost them.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, and I didn't ask for anything, but they paid us to keep quiet.
Yeah.
Myself and my 4 techs that I had, 2 of which were going to stay behind and run that switch. And the next 2 of the 4, I had 2 more students, and I took the next 2, and we went to Albuquerque and put a private one in for the same Beznos group. That was one of their fringe benefits. You could call free long distance on their own phone network to any city that they had a complex in.
Well, that's what GM did. They built their own phone network. And the idea was it could be 5 or 6 digit dialing anywhere in the world that you needed to call.
Yep.
And that was a nightmare to figure out. And then about the time we got it figured out, along comes the North American dialing plan, changed everything. And they were still working on that when I left and I went to NBD, where I took over with the North American dialing plan there, and which was much easier because they hadn't had anything established yet. So, man, what a nightmare. Yeah, but that was a whole thing. GM wanted their own network. They didn't want to be reliant on AT&T, even though to some extent they still had to be, because AT&T had the trunking.
Well, I had lectured on ISDN at colleges, universities, went in as consultants doing the work. That's after I got out of Alaska. I had to do something, and that's what I picked up on. But it was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and then that got me a job with FTS, if you're familiar with that in government.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny. One of the
And
things that GM was, or not GM, Ross Perot was pushing on the GM phone network was the idea of having video communications, which, you know, he was a little too far into the future yet. They weren't ready for that, but
no,
he was pushing that big time. Oh man, the secretaries did not like that at all. But they're the ones that killed the talk about it. You
the
know,
union, yeah, it just
yeah.
shut everything down. It
Well, they
wasn't just there; it was other places too.
yeah. Well, you know, they didn't want to have to put on makeup and make sure they looked good and everything before they answered the phone, and that was the kind of stuff we heard. You know, I'm not going to answer the phone if I don't think I'm looking good that day, or if I'm having a bad hair day. You know, and then I'll get fired for not answering the phone. So,
Yeah.
So
Unions put it out of business.
yeah. Well, Roger finally told Ross to quit talking about it. It's not going to happen. And there's no way it could have happened at that time, anyways. So, but that never stopped Ross.
No.
You know, Ross was always thinking 10 steps ahead of everybody else. Listen, I'll be right back.
Alrighty. I tell you about the 9/11 story and the Pentagon.
I'm not sure.
I was working still for GSA, because that's who ran FTS. And I was in the Office of the Future because my boss kept saying that I was a big dreamer, but everything I dreamed of had come true. So I worked on the Office of the Future program with a bunch of other dreamers and a ton of salespeople trying to answer them. But yeah, we come up with the first chip card to be used and piloted at GSA in our headquarters building. That's where my offices were, in the basement. It's where the lab was. But it was fun trying to get the government to put, and they couldn't realize the purposes of having ISDN, though they had it. They just didn't use it.
Mm-hmm.
Basically because they felt that the B channel was not fast enough for data. Well, it's a signaling, an intelligent signaling channel, out-of-band signaling. But that was something that was totally unheard of, and you had to explain it to them at the time.
Yeah. Then just watch your eyes glass over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these were people, like at the Pentagon, had a star or two on them.
Yeah.
And you knew you didn't get anywhere. There was only one agency that was totally up on what it was. And I happened to come across them because of a reunion that I went to for years and years, an Air America reunion at the agency.
Yeah.
And they knew all about it because they'd already been into it.
Yeah. I remember my first trip to the Pentagon. I landed at the time it was called Washington International Airport.
Yep.
And I was told that when I got off the plane, I had to go to the gate attendant and show him my ID, and they would give me instructions. And so I got off And I showed her my ID, and I says, I'm going to need to know where to go to get a rental car. And she goes, oh, no, you don't need a rental car. Come on with me. And
No.
she walked me for what seemed like a half a mile and put me through this door, going some stairs, going downstairs. And there was a Marine down at the bottom of the stairs, asked for my ID, and I showed him my ID. And he says, follow me, and took me in, and I took the Underground Railway over to the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never saw the light of day until I got to the Pentagon. You know? That was quite an experience.
Oh, the metro, that is something else. And
Yep.
then there's
that-
actually 3 railroads. It's technically 4, but 3 are publicly known.
Yeah.
That still go under all of the district.
Well, this was a private. This was just for the Pentagon.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it took me
that's
straight
one of
there.
them.
Yeah, that was the 3 places I went to that were the most interesting. Like that was the Pentagon, NORAD in the mountain, and the Strategic Air Command in Omaha. Because
Yeah.
the Strategic Air Command, everything was underground, about 20 levels underground, and the most antiquated equipment you ever saw, even for 1985. You know? So, but I always loved going to those places. It was just so interesting. NORAD especially. I loved going to NORAD. And I remember I happened to be in Denver one night, and I was staying there for the night because the next morning I was flying out for San Francisco, and my phone rang in my room, and it was my boss, and he says, we got a call from NORAD, and one of their monitors is acting up. Can you go out and take a look at it? And I goes, yeah, I can drive over there, you know. And so I drove to Colorado Springs, and I went in. And when I got into the big room, the war room as they called it, up on the big giant screen was V, the Final Battle, that miniseries that was on at the time.
Yeah.
And I says, well, what about the nation's last defense? And they goes, oh, we have Russia on the monitor over there.
Yes. Yes, how typical.
Yeah.
Pentagon, same way.
But you know, that was the hardest work I ever did because, you know, they would tell me that we sold them data monitors. So they would have a screen that would be displaying lines and lines of hexadecimal or whatever stream they were using. And they would tell me, oh, about every 15th bit, we're getting the wrong thing. And I'm going, okay. But I wasn't allowed to see it. So I had to make a correction or replace a board, then go out in the hallway while they tested it. And then they come back and try to describe to me what they were seeing. And I went, oh, okay. So I'll go. And a lot of times I just replaced every single board in the machine.
Huh.
And then they finally say, okay, it's working now. Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I tell people about going to NORAD, and they ask what it's really like in there. And I goes, did you ever see the movie War Games? And they go, yeah. And they goes, that was filmed at NORAD. They let them film that
Yep.
there. And
Yep.
that's the room. So that big screen is what I saw V, the Final Battle on.
Yep. All rear projection.
Yep. 4-story buildings all set on massive springs. Yep. It was amazing. And the first time I visited there, I said, so we're totally safe here from any nuclear attack. And he went, nah. He says, back when we built this, the closest they could get a nuclear pinpoint was 5 miles. He says, they can drop it right on top of the mountain and vaporize us now.
Yeah.
And so I haven't been there since the 80s, though. I know it's still used, but not in the capacity that it used to be used.
No, it's open for tourists.
Yeah. That TV show, Stargate SG-1, they always showed the outside of NORAD. And my wife always jokes around, it's the same 2 guards for all 6 seasons. It's the same 2 guards. What did they do to get that duty? But just a fascinating
Stock footage,
place.
reel 14.
Yep, exactly. And they were telling me that the government didn't build that. That was built initially. That was built by the private sector to be a prison, and the government stepped in and says you can't do that. That's a violation of human rights.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So and then the government bought it and said this is going to work great for what we want to do. Oh, they track Santa Claus every year now too. So
Yes. Yes.
yeah, when my son was little, we used to put that on the computer so he could watch it. And then when they get close to America, okay, time to go to bed now.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, and they're still doing that. That's
Oh yeah.
that's
yeah.
great. I
Last
love
year.
it. Yeah.
But the movie, as a computer person, did you cringe at their computer
Oh yes. Yeah.
running backwards?
Yeah. 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 It was just a box.
The countdown was running backwards from what the chip would be,
Yeah.
but they couldn't get a camera in there to shoot it straight on, so they used a mirror.
Yeah.
That's why it runs backwards.
Yeah. It's funny. Now somebody had told me that retired from the Air Force. He told me about 1998. They replaced all that. You know that the room is in a different building now. And that room has been turned into multiple offices and things like that on multiple levels.
Ah,
So it sounds like they moved more personnel in. And what a fascinating place. And I remember the first time I went there, I about died walking from the parking lot into the place because of the thin air.
oh, yes.
Yeah. They stopped me at one point and asked me if I was okay if I needed oxygen or anything. I said, I just need to sit here for a minute. And then they called a Jeep for me because they were going to have me walk all the way back. And they called a Jeep for me then. That was like, what, 25 years old. 24, 25. But man, that air is thin up there.
hmm
I had a rental car that was having trouble staying running because it was from Ohio.
Oh, yeah. The
So it wasn't,
carburetor was
yeah,
out.
wasn't calibrated. I didn't think I was going to get up the mountain to get into the place. And Strategic Air Command, the first time I went there, I was walking in and I was going through the main building because I had to walk through the perimeter of the main building to the back where I took the elevator down to the sub-levels. And it was like every other military base that they sent me to. I just showed them my ID and I was cleared. And
Yep.
So I was walking through the perimeter and I saw this whole group of Air Force men surrounding this one person. And as I got closer, I got a better look at him. He was a 4-star. And they were his entourage. And one of the young guys grabbed me as they were walking by and slammed me against the wall. And he started screaming at me and saying, "Soldier, you salute. You always salute an officer." He says, "What the hell's the matter with you?" And the general interrupted him. He goes, "He is not a soldier, son. He is a civilian personnel." He says, "Just look at his badge he's wearing." And I guess he got chewed up pretty good by the generals, but that scared the hell out of me.
Oh, yeah.
And then we went down. I was always going to the 20th level, but we had to stop at every single level so I could show the guard my ID. So it was a long trip down and a long trip back
sounds
up.
like it.
Yeah, yep. But I remember the first time I walked in there and I saw all that old equipment. I thought, "Oh my God."
Museum time.
Yeah. Then it was museum, reel-to-reel tapes, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And it was, I remember reading it was still late 90s before they upgraded all that. He's getting smoother cuts now.
Yep. Faster speed, less bounce.
Yep.
Remember the Last Starfighter,
Yes.
the movie?
I love that movie. Just watched
I
it
did
not too
too.
long ago. And they're talking about they're going to make another one. They've been talking
Oh.
about it a long time. About 10 years they've been talking about it, but last I heard, they've actually got a pre-production team in place.
Oh.
And it's going to be the younger boy now. He's an adult, and his son is going to be the next last starfighter.
In a trailer park.
Yeah, that was done so well, though.
Well, the computer animation.
Yeah, they were way far ahead of everybody at the time.
Those were done on American Express, Cray XMP 22 Twin Towers,
Really?
2 of them that American Express used during the day. A third of the processing power of one tower was dedicated to doing the first conversion to animation, computer animation.
Okay.
It took that long. It would run about 2.5 hours for 30 minutes or 38 seconds worth to
Yeah.
do it at the level they needed. And it wasn't the Cray that was causing the slowdown, it was the printer.
Mm-hmm.
The scanner, high speed color scanner that
Yeah.
did the 40. It was, I think it was 40 millimeter, and they knocked it down to 35.
Mm.
But they did the movie in 40 because that was the only printer that they could find that was the capability of doing color directly.
Yeah.
Onto film.
Just
And it was,
imagine what they're going to be able to do now with the technology.
yeah, what we did then and watched happen
Yeah.
would actually be done today on a gaming PC.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's like we talked about before. You know, the computer on the lunar lander was a Z80. It was
Yeah.
just a calculator.
Yeah, little old Z80.
Yeah. You know, our phones are 10,000 times more powerful than the lunar lander was.
Yep. But that's something you'd have to be there to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I got to meet Cray himself only because at the time I was making some part-time money while doing the ISDN bit. It was in and installed, but I was doing training, and I just heard what was going on there, so I went down and watched and hung out with him at night and bought a bunch of lunches and bottles of whiskey and stuff. So I was accepted. You know how it works.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Because they just sat around bored waiting for the computer
Mhm.
to, do 6 inches of film.
Yeah. Well, you know, in the early days, all of us did a lot of sitting around just waiting for the computer.
Yeah. And a Cray's the fastest one at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, now they're getting them custom built for Hollywood.
Yes. But I got to meet old man Cray because he was down there for a photo shoot one day when they were previewing one of the scenes that was being done for the movie.
Oh, okay.
And they had just sent it back out and got a proof back from California in 35. And they rented a theater just so the Cray people and the software people could see it on a big screen along with the executive producer and their staff to see if all this investment was worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was all theory until they got the first, I think it was 91 seconds or something like that with heads and tails on it that they could see action and face and sound.
Yeah.
And they had to dub the sound in. That had to be done in the coast.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
it was still fantastic that a computer generated. Except that we had a problem one night, and I say we because I hung out with them, and I learned a lot of how to run the equipment. And I made sure that the the 4 staffers that were doing the work, 2 for Cray and 2 for the movie studio, subcontractors doing the film process, and then their boss, who he was always in Phoenix drinking at night, so he never came out because the only time you could use it was from 11 to 3 in the morning, to 4 at the most. They needed the rest of the full tower because that was used for credit card balances and clearances and everything for American Express cards on the Cray. But we had a disaster happen. The nitrogen tube, and it was stainless, but it had, due to vibration as it went through a wall, had a crack, and was it liquid locks that were using locks, and it was spraying out, and there was a leak alarm go off, and everybody they run in to see what's going on, and now the computer person for American Express, he was a software person that knew how to turn it on and off, but that was it. He didn't know anything about the fact that here the liquid coolant is spraying through a pinhair leak, as gas and freezing, and the alarm's going off, and they didn't want the Cray to overheat because then it would slow down. There was a couple of panic phone calls go out to find out from Cray how to fix it, and there was a card that was stuck. And even when I worked at U of M, they had a Cray single tower. On the Cray, there's always an emergency contact number right on the machine. And I called the number because the other guys didn't know anything about it, and they couldn't fix it. They were forbidden to touch it, and the oxygen's going down, the lock, and there's a warning that it has to automatically shut off, and then it takes supposedly 2 days to bring the machine back up again, and American Express wouldn't like that.
Yeah.
And that would have ended the film thing.
Yeah.
But the film guys had nothing to do with it. It was vibration. So they asked me, because I had a technology background, if I would call Cray support. So I picked up the phone. It was an emergency phone, dial tone instantly, dialed a number on it in case of emergency. And I told them what was happening. Well, we'll have to get someone. I said, we can't shut it down. It belongs to American Express. Oh, that's something else, sir. Read the number off again. And I read the number that was engraved in a plate over the phone. Okay, 1 minute. And next thing I know, yeah, can I help you, sir? If you have an emergency? And I said, I explained the emergency politely and all. And he said, okay, I can have a man fly out by jet tomorrow to look at it. And I said, but what do we do about it now? Because this is American Express, and we're doing the motion picture. Oh, that one. He knew about it because he took credit and the credits for it.
Okay.
It was Cray himself.
Oh, okay.
And he said, I'll tell you how to fix it. Get a bunch of double bubble chewing gum. It has to be double bubble, or because it's not the flavor, it's just the chemicals in it, and get everybody chewing big wads of it. We stopped at a 7-Eleven and bought them out of bubble gum, and everyone is busy chewing because you can't go near it. The lock's spraying out.
Yeah.
And what he said to do was to take the double bubble gum and put the biggest wad we could on a book, a big stick or something with a handle. The back of a shovel was even better. And then push it against the leak. And it froze instantly, except it shrank. And when it did, it went around the pipe.
Wow.
crystallized, stopped the locks right then, within
Awesome.
5 seconds.
Yeah.
No more leak.
No more.
Plenty of ice sitting everywhere on the pipes, but
Yeah.
he said, just don't repeat that. Because he kept saying, there's a spare tank, you can turn it on, you can do this and that. And I said, we don't have keys for that. And the guard, I'm sure they don't want to have to call other people. Is there something quick? Double bubble chewing gum. Has to be bubble gum, can't be regular gum.
Hmm. That's great.
Here, we fixed a crate with a couple dollars worth of bubble gum.
Yep. Oh, I saw an interview with Robert Preston right before he passed away. He played the guy that recruited the last Starfighter, and somebody asked him, what he did to develop the character. The interview was a theatrical thing. They talk with actors and stuff, and he goes, "Oh, I didn't do anything." He said, "I already created the character many years before." He said, "If you watch what I'm doing, I'm playing the exact same character I did in The Music Man." He said, because this character was a salesman and a shyster.
Yes, that's right.
He said, I just didn't have to sing. He said, it's the easiest acting role I ever had.
I'd never thought of it that way. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
right.
you
That's
watch
one
it.
of my favorite musicals too.
Oh, sure. So you watch them next to each other, and it's the same character. Yeah. I always liked Robert Preston. I thought he was just so wasted on the Miss America pageant. He was so much better than that. But he didn't do a whole lot of movies because he was theatrical. He was a Broadway man.
Yeah.
So that's why I was so in shock when they started running the trailers for The Last Starfighter and they showed Robert Preston. I goes, I can't believe he's doing a sci-fi.
Yeah.
So I'm anxious to see what they'll do with the new one.
Yes, that'll be interesting.
Yeah. And of course, at all the arcades, when that movie came out, that was the hottest game going in the arcades. People were standing in line to play that game.
Well, look at Ready Player One, the book,
Mm-hmm.
and then it become a fantastic movie.
Yeah, it was.
And it started off as a game.
Right. Yeah. Well, we got
computer game, and they wrote a book to it, then a movie.
Mortal Kombat in the theaters right now.
Yeah. And Ready Player One version
Yep.
2 is already out in book form a couple of years
Yep.
ago.
So it's just a matter of time before that movie comes out because Ready Player One was a huge success.
Yes,
Yeah.
young
But-
adults loved it.
Yep. Yep.
Perfect target market.
Yep, exactly. Well, my wife and I enjoyed it, and we were we were in our early 60s when it came out.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
for geeks.
Yeah, I'm a geek. I'm a geek till I
Yeah.
die.
Yep, you can't help it.
Yeah.
Get that curiosity.
Yep.
I was in a discussion group here about 6 weeks ago online because I have a lifetime in Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers.
Mm-hmm.
That was awarded me membership, and we were talking about they wanted us last year. A group of us were scheduled to be at the convention to talk about what it was like in early days of broadcasting, and I kind of insulted me thinking they want me to talk about early days, but I guess it was. I'm just old.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I was one of those freaks that was a ham operator at 12 and had my novice ticket at 12 and then got my first phone license and then my broadcast FCC first phone while I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Drove my science and math teachers crazy, teaching me that what I had to have to pass the test.
Yeah.
But it was great working for Channel 4 TV. as
Mhm.
midnight engineer, I was the only one there because I was the cheapest.
Right. Well, I had
I had the ticket, and their nighttime first used to live at the transmitter site, lived there back in the day, and he did at those time when he passed away. They took the housing out. They didn't need that anymore because they were already had remote set up to be
right.
able to remote the whole transmitter and monitor it. But
Mhm.
they didn't implement it because he was been there forever and was union, and they the FCC said if you weren't an employee that you couldn't sleep in the transmitter facility, housing attached to it and stuff. So they kept it out there until he retired and left.
Yeah.
And then they had to have somebody that could do remote work from Detroit. And that's when the Detroit News was still owned it, and the buildings were connected by the underground tunnel.
Mhm.
And that was fun,
Yeah.
putting up with Sonny Elliott.
Yeah. Well, we had back in the I'm gonna say around 2010. I had a young guy
Looking good,
working.
Jay.
Yeah, it is. Getting
Cheers.
Is it getting easier?
Yeah. And now that that's getting down a bit, it is, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed you're getting smoother cuts now.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Well, I'll knock it on the head, gentlemen.
Yeah, you've been on almost an hour and a half. Something like
Yeah.
that'll beat you up in vibration, that's for sure.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've got on the lathe to hold it down a bit nearly vibrated off onto my foot. I'm glad I looked down.
Yeah.
That would have been sore.
Yes, you got to get weight on that. Cinder blocks, rocks,
Yeah.
heavy stuff. Yeah.
See that's this thing here and the bit of cement down below. This is a umbrella stand holder thing, so it don't flop
Oh,
over.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a bag of cement down here. So, it's getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's it. The other thing is constantly, maybe weekly, go through and check all the nuts and bolts for the legs, both to the frame and to the table underneath, because the vibration can vibrate them loose.
Okay.
When I got mine, they were just a nut and a regular bolt, and I put and they had washers, but they didn't do any good. I put lock washers in, those split ones,
Mm-hmm.
because you really can cinch down and they're not going to back out on you. The washer's not going to rotate loose with vibration, because with a lathe you can vibrate the legs off if you don't notice it.
Right.
All right. Thanks for that.
That's just one of those things. Now you got a pro or semi-pro, you got to get used to checking on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And you don't want to, I just don't want to bust your bubble, but you don't want to learn the hard way.
No, I don't think I could catch that.
I ended up just barely missing, breaking 2 toes once, and another, I got 4 stitches in my leg, but that was because a leg come loose on the lathe.
Ouch.
And I thought it was holding all right. The nut and the washer, regular flat washer, had fallen off on the backside. And what it was doing is vibrating the nut out thread by thread. And when that went out, all of a sudden it was a mess.
Yeah.
Sounds
On a
like
lathe just like that.
Yep. I'll do that. I'll write on the shed right now. So the shed wall's right there. I'll write on it so I know. Check the bolts.
least- But if you get the right kind of washers, and I don't know what they're called, they're round, but they have like teeth in both sides.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I got.
If you know what I mean. Not a split washer where it's a washer and bent, twisted, but they have teeth in them on both sides. Most
Oh,
of them not in
it's
the
a
metal
star
side.
washer, isn't it?
I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
But that's what I would, if you see them, count how many you need and get an extra one, because if you don't, you're going to lose it
Yes.
on the way home.
And
Don't know how you
I
know.
would still use Loctite.
Yep.
Yeah, but he's got to take it apart. But I've had Loctite vibrate loose,
Yeah.
unless
Oh,
you
I
get
mean, well,
light
yeah.
Loctite gray or the type you need a blowtorch for to
Mhm.
take off.
Which I don't normally want to use anyways, because if I want to take it apart, then it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's why I say the lock washers would have teeth on both sides, not the split ones. The split will work if you got nothing else, but you'll need a pair of wrenches to put them on and cinch them down. But you don't want it vibrating loose, because you'll find that you'll have wood vibrating on it. And you
Yeah.
don't want to find out the hard way that the bolt is also coming out and you didn't see it.
Yeah.
No, I got people like you that's already done it the hard way for me. Thanks.
Yeah, I've done that. I got the scar for it.
Yeah, I bet.
So, and to get it elevated when you get the chance.
Yep.
Well, we'll catch you tomorrow night. I gotta
All right.
hit the sack. I gotta be at the VA in the morning for a bunch of bloody tests.
Oh.
All
Well,
right.
good luck with that, Dr. Bob.
Yeah.
Yep, just 4 follow-up tests.
Yep.
So
You have a habit of going to get a test done, and you stay there for 2 weeks.
well,
You don't want to do that anymore.
no, but it's happened to me twice.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Take a packed bag with you.
Well, you don't get the way they supply you all the clothes. But at least I had my tablet and my phone,
Yeah.
but I didn't have a charger. I just had a couple of big battery packs but they had phone chargers on every floor. So at night I gave them my 2 big battery packs and my tablet and my cell phone to charge. So it took up 4 of their stations.
No.
But it was a big one. They had plenty of room. That was just to charge patients' phones.
I was wondering how you were keeping it charged.
Yep. Because I usually carry a charger with me, a little one in the backpack, but it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Blame the kids.
Yeah, I probably could. They know better.
Well, all right. I'm going to run away now.
Okay.
Yep, we'll catch you 2 later. Have a
All right.
good day tomorrow,
Okay.
both of you.
Take care, Bob.
Yep.
Yeah,
bye.
see you later, Bob. Thanks for coming in, Jeff.
Okay. Good seeing you again, buddy.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.